Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. That's right. We have more than just a podcast. We got a little Facebook page, other things, YouTube pages, stuff like that you can tune in. Speaking of YouTube, Facebook pages, Rocky Mountain Sports Network. That's who we're brought to you by, and of course, we're sponsored by Morgan Trinkets. I am your host, Keith Brugman. I'm one of the least important people on the panel this evening. Man, we got the whole panel of the horsemen, the four horsemen in. I'll just start going around the bend, man. Starting with my good friend, Mr. Trevor Salzman, the Rocket Man. How you doing? Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Keith, and good evening, everybody out there in Broncos country. Some exciting news before we got on. I think it's starting to become a habit for the Broncos. They're starting, closer to showtime, they start releasing news. So thanks, George Payton, Sean Payton, for that one. No, just excited to be here and excited to get our special guests in here and have a great show.
Yeah. Oh, you're already teasing it, man. You didn't even let me get to it, man. But I want to say hello to the one, the only, Albert Mile High Dutchie. Welcome to the show, Dutchie. Good to see you, man. It's been too long. Welcome back, brother. How you doing?
Woo! I have to start with woo, because 77 is here for the longer run, and we will talk about it later. But yeah, it's been a little while. Work kept me away from Denver Bronco Roundup, but for the next couple months, I will be here on Tuesdays. Yay!
Oh, I love it. I love it, man. But what I don't love is when work keeps us away from fun. And that's what we get to have with the Denver Bronco Roundup, all the posse that comes in on the chat, man. And of course, we get to have fun with the judge himself, Jody Moncrief. Welcome to the show, Judge. How you doing?
Doing great. Couple weeks away from training camp. Rookies report next week. It's football season, the best time of the year.
Rookies report tomorrow, if I remember correctly, the 17th, man. Everything's happening, man. Everything's happening, man. But before I get to the posse, we gotta welcome in the most important person on the show tonight, man. I'm telling you what, check him out. Mile High Huddle, Dove Valley Deep Divers, the man, the legend himself, Mr. Lance Sanderson, man. How you doing, sir?
Easy, most important, guys. Easy on that. Legend, I'm not exactly. No, thank you. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's always fun to join you guys here on DBR. Been a while. I do appreciate the invite, and I'm so excited to be here on a huge news day. This is a big-time news day. Obviously, you guys kind of alluded to it coming in here. Quinn Miners signing a 4-year deal at $80 million, $45 million guaranteed for the belly, the beast, the best right guard in all of football, man. Super stoked. I'm jealous of you guys on Tuesdays because on Fridays for Dove Valley Deep Divers, we never get news like this. So for you guys to be able to get this and break it down, I'm ecstatic to be here and to be a part of this with this journey with you guys, man. Really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's just jump right off the bat, man. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Quinn Miners, 4-year, $80 million. $45 million guaranteed. Yeah, for me, that just screams like 3 years, $15 million per year, is really what you're looking at. But talk about this deal, getting it done, getting Quinn Miners all locked up, buddy.
It's a huge deal. Like I said, you're talking about one of, if not the best right guard in all of football. And according to Pro Football Focus last season, he was the #1 run blocking guard in all of the NFL. So you're talking a dirty dude in the trenches, obviously brings that nasty demeanor, that physical attitude, a guy that's going to go and finish the play after the whistle and just be that guiding force for this offensive line, really kind of the tone setter up there. And I know that everyone, myself included, regards Garrett Bowles is the best offensive lineman on this group, and he has been for a long time. When you're a top 10 left tackle, in my opinion, and I don't think it's necessarily arguable, he is a top 10 left tackle, and the nastiness that he brings, the leader of that offensive line, to get another guy that's a younger player with a longer term future with even more upside. I do think that we have not seen the full ceiling of a guy like Quinn Miners. To get him done this early in the process, right a couple of weeks before training camp, we were talking a little bit before we went went live, and Trevor said, it was getting kind of, are we gonna see this right now? Or is it gonna get a little bit longer into the process? Regardless, you go out there, you get your guy $20 million per year on an average per year basis. Again, $45 million guaranteed. Those will probably come in the first 2 years. Maybe that third year, you'll see a little bit of guaranteed money in there as well. That last year of the contract, we'll see how the structure is all going to work out. But this is a big piece for this Broncos offensive line, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's more to talk about with Miners and this Broncos offense coming up here in a minute.
Right on, brother. I appreciate it. I got Michelle Knoppers tuning in saying, woohoo, Lance. Great to see you. Always bring it. Hey, big love coming in from Lance. I love that. I'll bring over Albert. Albert, I know you're a big Quinn Miners fan. I'll let you talk just a second about Quinn Miners, him being locked up to this contract. What does it mean for you? What do you think about the Denver Broncos getting this done right now?
I think the Denver Broncos have a steal because of this. Like Lance says, we have not seen the ultimate Miners yet. I think he still will grow and grow and grow, and we will see more out of him. Yeah, he is wearing that number 77 proud, and rightfully so. Carl Mecklenburg did it in the defense, and now we have it on the offensive side. Kudos off and to Miners, and of course, great deal for the Denver Broncos because, like I said, they have a really steal with Quinn Miners with this contract.
I agree, man. I agree. I'd like to get to everybody, but we're going to have to keep it kind of quick, man. We got a lot of stuff to get to tonight. We're almost already 8 minutes into the show. I already want to get to the posse, say hello to a few people, and then get into the meat of the show. So Ernie Mays, man, I'll tell you what, fantastic supporter. He's calling out the show before the show's already advertised, man. Ernie Mays, thank you so much. Appreciate you so much. And you're a fantastic supporter of the show. Just want to call you out. Say thank you very much. Scott came in super early as well over on YouTube saying hot off the press, Quinn, the belly miner signs a 4-year, $80 million deal. I appreciate you, Scott, coming in here super early. Pearl coming in and saying hello all. And I want to get to this one real quick. Pearl's our sponsor over at Morgan Trinkets, and she's just letting us know that starting Friday for 10 days, I'll be selling at the Cheyenne Frontier Days. So I will not be in the posse, but you know all where to find her though for all those fantastic Southwest jewelry, Southwest pottery, estate gold, wholesale prices, sterling silver as well. She'll be at that Cheyenne Frontier Days. She's saying, but I will watch after, and it's called drive 1.5 hours each way. So appreciate you so much, Pearl. Like we appreciate Dan coming in saying number 77 is lifting those redwood logs now. I love it very much. Mr. Graham coming in saying awesome paint job, Lance. Check out that paint job, man. I mean, he put in some work. I remember.
A lot of work went into that. My wife did a really good job getting everything lined up. She helped me out a lot with this. Took a lot of work to get it all put together. It's not quite all the way done yet, and as you can tell, I got some stuff back over here behind my my right shoulder. But that's the kids who get in here play the Xbox every now and again. But this room is decked out all Bronco stuff all the way around. I'd move my camera and show you to you guys, but it's kind of a disaster in the corner right now. But thank you, thanks, Graham. I appreciate it, man.
We'll let it be. Kenny Kirkpatrick of the Amazing K&K Sports Show coming in and saying good evening, DBR, and welcome Lance, my favorite guest on the DBR. By the way, thus coming from a Giants fan, laugh out loud. So, and Mr. Phil McLaughlin, our first star giver of the evening, saying good evening, Keith, Rocketman, Judge, Dutchie, and Lance. So how mad is Sutton today? I'm going to get to that. I'm going to go ahead and I'll bring up the Rocket Man himself. Rocket Man, talk about that real quick. How mad is Sutton?
He's mad about what? Because he's done what? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, Quinn Myers, Cortland Sutton's got some things to prove going into this year. You know, he's not a guy that Broncos shouldn't have to pivot and have to pay him anything right now. Now you can argue if there's if there's a difference of a few $1 million, it's one thing. But if he's talking about he wants a big time payday, well, he shouldn't be getting it right now. He's got to prove his worth. And as much as I've advocated for Courtland Sutton to be on this roster, I don't think the Broncos should get rid of him because I do think he brings something to the table, and I want to see his hit with Bo Nix. I don't think he should be jealous at all today. He needs to go out there and prove it. Now I'm looking on social media about his teammates getting paid because Quentin Meinerz, let's be honest, we all know how great of a guard he is and how good of an offensive line he is. Well, Courtland Sutton should know that as well. He should be happy for his teammate. He should go out there and prove that he is the number one wide receiver on this Broncos roster and go earn the contract. Don't talk about it. Just go earn it.
Very good, man. I like it. I like it a lot. Got to say hello to our one of the best. Lance, you know him. I know him. The whole posse knows him. It's Mr. Michael Ronquillo, the Ronk himself, up there being Roundup royalty, coming in with stars saying, "Good evening, Keith, Albert, Trevor, and Lance. Go Broncos!" And by the way, evening, Jody, as well, man. He gives his own special call out. Jody's going to be the first one I get to, man, but I got to get to this agenda before we get too far into the show. Man, there is ways that we've improved, Lance. There are ways that I wish we would have improved. And in that way, we're going to get right to the meat of the topic. We're going to start off with groups, offensive and defensive groups, who we think are the best, who we think are the worst. We're going to start off on the defensive side of the ball. We're going to start off on the worst group. Hopefully that way we can end on some positive notes come the end of the show, man. But Lance, I know that you dive into this roster, Dub Valley Deep Divers. Love the hat, by the way. Love the hat. Got to get that merch over at MHH, by the way, right? That's where it's at, man. All right. Sir. But that being said, man, you guys do your due diligence. You know your stuff. I want to get your thoughts on, because I think there's a few places you can go. Who is your group for worst defensive group?
I think it's the easiest one to call out because you lose so much veteran leadership, and this is a safety position. Obviously, you move on from Justin Simmons and the salary cap casualty that he was. You move on from Kareem Jackson because the boneheaded knucklehead, the terrible hits that he was putting helmet-to-helmet contact on players, and you can call out the NFL for targeting Kareem Jackson. Well, when you continue to go out there and do those same knuckleheaded plays, they're going to keep coming at you. Those two quality starters there, regardless of the Kareem Jackson situation with the fines, the suspension stuff, he was still a damn good football player. Justin Simmons, top 3 safety in the NFL. Some would consider him the best. I will kind of go Antoine Winfield and Mika Fitzpatrick. Some like one of those guys. Whatever. We could argue semantics about this all as long as we want to. As it stands right now, though, this room has seen the least improvement out of any position, whether it was through the draft, whether it was through free agency. And yes, I understand they went out and they got Brandon Jones, who was a third safety for the Miami Dolphins, relatively decent player, solid tackler, big time, like hard hitter from the safety position. But PJ Locke, who I like a lot, we watched him live at the Jets game with the Mile High Huddle meet and greet. The 25 yards that he rotated against Jordan Love to grab that game-sealing interception, that was all fine and groovy. That's really the only guy you have right now on this roster with quality starting experience as a player that you can kind of rely upon, and you still need to see more growth from him. Brandon Jones, again, a third-string safety for the most part with the Miami Dolphins, a little bit of starting experience. Then you have the likes of Caden Stearns, who I like a lot in terms of his athletic prowess, but he cannot stay healthy. He hasn't been on the field for more than 300 snaps in his entire career. Like it's just not a guy that you can rely upon to be a stalwart on this defense, even though I like the capabilities that he brings. He can play single high if you need him to, can drop down into the box, provide that hitting mentality, is a solid tackler. And then you got guys like J.L. Skinner, Delaren Turner-Yell. I don't think it's going to be Riley Moss anymore. Eric Trickle, my co-host on Dove Valley Deep Divers, is kind of cold my thinking on that because he's probably going to be more on the outside. But you've got Locke and then a bunch of nobodies that you don't know what you're going to get right now. And even with PJ Locke, there's not a lot that you know you're going to get from him as a full-time starter moving forward and being the guy on the back end of that secondary. This to me is easily the worst position group on the defense as it stands right now. If they go out and find a veteran player to come and kind of help out with that role. And I think a big part of this is going to go along with JL Skinner and his development. Obviously, last year he had that torn pectoral in the draft process, didn't get a chance to really play last season.
Mm-hmm.
Special teams role, I think he's going to be a quality special teams player for this team. But until he can prove it defensively, I still have to have a bunch of questions about the safety group.
Bam. And that's why we bring on Lance, man, because I mean, I think that the comments, the posse themselves, kind of speak to where a lot of people thought. Big E Bronco, by the way, he came in. He's had a few comments, but he says inside linebacker is the worst group for him. You know, I think that's one group that a lot of people would want to go to. But like I said, I want to get to the judge himself, man. Judge, what do you think, man? Was safety on your worst group here? And what are your thoughts on what Lance just said? Because I think he speaks volumes, man. A lot of depth, a lot of quality veteran depth has all of a sudden just been obliterated from that group, leaving it kind of devoid of, you know, a lot of talent that hasn't seen the field a whole lot. So outside of maybe a guy that we brought in from Miami, what are your thoughts, Judge? What are your thoughts on this?
I don't think safety is our weakest position. To me, it's definitely inside linebacker. You're banking. You've got Alex Singleton, who is what he is. He's not elite, but he is a tackling machine. Plays the run decent, covers decent. Then you have a big question mark. Are you banking on Jonas Griffith, who's been injured the last 2 years? Are you Cody Barton, who came over from the Commanders, was not great, like a 53 PFF grade. Not great in coverage, which is what Denver's linebackers as a whole struggle in. Drew Sanders going down really hurt inside linebacker. And then Justin Sternad, who has gotten little to no reps there at all. He's basically strictly a special teams player. I'm really worried who's going to play next to Singleton and how that looks. And Singleton, he's going to be wearing the green dot this year. That's something he's never done before. That's going to be huge. Whatever you thought of Josie Jewell, that's the guy that was calling plays the last handful of years, and he was the leader on this defense. I think that, to me, that's the biggest weakness. Who's going to play next to Alex Singleton?
Very good. Maybe I'll just go down the board. Albert, if you had to choose between linebacker and safety, or do you have a different choice? What do you think is the weakest position group on the defensive side?
I would say that for me, linebackers is the weakest because we have Singleton, and Josie Jewell is going to be missed very, very well, and there's always that possibility that there's one guy coming back to the Broncos, and that could be Justin Simmons. He still does not have a contract anywhere, and he does want to play. And he was put on the free market to see what he could get, and so far, he's not going to get anything. So it might be back that he's coming back for the Broncos with a different contract. But yeah, for me, it is the inside linebackers of Drew Sanders. We don't know what we have on him. I really would like to see him there and see what he brings next to Alex Singleton and Jonas Griffith. Yeah, if he can stay healthy, he might be a really, really good option there as well.
Graham's coming in just really quick. His opinion, he says Simmons won't come back because he wants to win on a championship team, and we aren't there yet. I'm going to get over to the Rocket Man himself, see if we can get some agreement there for Lance over on the safety position. What are your thoughts on what he said? Because I'll be honest, I'm kind of wooed over to that safety position. Are you too, Trevor?
I mean, I'm going to say inside linebacker, and this is the reason it's not a good thing either that I'm saying inside linebacker, because I don't like the safety room either. I think Brandon Jones, I don't really understand the signing there. Again, he's a guy that's never played a full season. Caden Stearns, you already have injury concerns there. PJ Locke, you got PJ Locke there, and who else? I mean, we really don't know. And Brandon Jones isn't very good in coverage. I think he's more of a run stopper than anything. Very concerned about that signing. But I think inside linebacker is more of a concern right now, just like what Jody said. You have Josie Jewell, the loss of Josie Jewell. I mean, I think he was your best coverage inside linebacker, and I think Singleton's more of a run stopper. Jonas Griffith hasn't played in 2 years, so you're really, relying upon him to try to be a starter again. They must have seen something in him because he was one of their first guys they brought back in the offseason. And then getting to Cody Barton, I was never a fan of that. He's not good in coverage. He's a guy that, in my opinion, that it's kind of another Alex Singleton in a way. So it wasn't good. Just wasn't good for Washington. So I wish I could be optimistic and say safety, but from this roster just has so many holes right now. It's just so hard to kind of pick and choose because honestly, both are just not very good in a very good spot right now. And Justin Simmons at safety, they're going to lose the durability there. Not only just the productivity that he brought to the room, but just the durability. He's a guy that you knew for the most part was going to be out there on the field. You don't know that right now with this current roster. So if I had to pick one right now, that I'm most concerned with, it had to be inside linebacker.
Well, fine then. I'll be the guy, Lance. I'm going to be the guy that comes to your defense because I'll be honest, man, I like Jonas Griffith. And I know it's placing a little bit of faith. And he had the injury and he's going to have to come back, and he's not the youngest player in the world. But this is the guy that was slated to be in Singleton's place to begin with. Singleton was supposed to be that special teams guy that was maybe could develop into something in linebacker. And now he's taken that spot. He's taken that position. Hats off to him. He went out there. He worked hard. He got it. And now he's wearing the green dot. And we're looking for that second inside linebacker. And I think that Jonas Griffith can do it. My biggest concern, especially now that Lance has pointed that out, is, my goodness, who do we have back there? What kind of experience do they have? Can they stay healthy? I mean, it's just a plethora of guys that have question marks bigger in my mind than what I see in Jonas Griffith or even Cody Barton. Cody Barton, I think, well, nobody looks good for the Commanders. Try to find a guy that looks really good for the Commanders. I think he looked better with Seattle. I think he did struggle when he went out to Washington. And I think that, honestly, in this defense, that he could be revived and brought back and be a key contributor on this offense or on this defense. So that being said, came to your defense a little bit, Lance, but we're going to have to keep chugging along. And I'm going to get right over. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. My one rebuttal, and guys, safety is the worst position on this roster. Inside linebacker is number 2 in terms of being the worst position group. And the reason why I have linebacker ahead of safety in this particular order is because we can all talk about Alex Singleton not being a quality coverage linebacker, but you know what you're going to get from Alex Singleton every single game. You're going to get a guy that's flying around out there and making plays as a tackler. I mean, this is according to Pro Football Reference.com. He had 177 tackles last season combined, 106 solo, 163 in 2022 with 101 solo for the Broncos. 2021, 137 combined tackles, 81 solo. This guy's out there every single game, play in and play out, being the most reliable tackler on this defensive unit. Is there a starter for the Broncos at the safety position that you trust as much as you trust Alex Singleton right now? And I don't think that the answer is anywhere close to yes.
Well put. Now I feel like you came to my defense. Appreciate it, Lance. I want you to come with
I have a question.
Just really quick. I just want to get to this real quick, Jody, and then I promise I'll get to your question. I'm sorry. Michael Ronquillo said, and I know that you addressed this really quick, that you said Eric Trickle addressed this with you as well. He said, would you move cornerback Riley Moss to the safety position? You said that Eric had a little bit of information on this. Drop it on us, buddy.
So no, they really want him to play on the outside. They gave up all that draft capital to play him on the outside. They want him to win the starting cornerback number 2 job opposite of Pat Surtain. He has the ability to play safety, but they are trying to focus on him primarily at the cornerback position this year.
Very good, buddy. I appreciate it. Jody, go right ahead. What question do you have, buddy?
They were the first 2 quick signings in the offseason, Cody Barton and Brandon Jones. If both start, who is weaker on defense for this team, Cody Barton or Brandon Jones, if they both play to the potential?
Who's probably worse? Quite honestly, because he doesn't have the starting experience, I would say Brandon Jones. At least Cody Barton, for the majority of his career, even though he's not a quality starter, he's at least has starting capabilities. We've never seen that with Brandon Jones. He always has those injury concerns, and he's always been a third rotational safety on a defense that has 2 really good players. And damn it, what the hell is his name? Javon Holland, and they also had another good safety there as well. Their names are escaping me. I do apologize for that. But Brandon Jones has never been that guy to even see a starting role. He's a rotational player only. At least Cody Barton has started for multiple teams at the NFL level. Like, I'll take that starting experience over what we see with Brandon Jones.
I'm sorry. Very good. Very good. It brings the question. I understand where Jody's going with that, man. He wants to know. He's trying to justify, hey, safety, linebacker, where is it going to be? But we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to the best defensive group that Lance has slated, man. Get into the arguments there. Get around the horn to everybody. I'll probably start off with Albert after Lance drops his best defensive group. What do you got, Lance?
It's the most improved defensive group that this team has seen right now, and it's easily the interior of the defensive line. You have a quality starter in Zach Allen, who took a really big step forward last year in terms of being kind of a one-trick, not really one-trick pony, but the one-man show, essentially, being a guy that was disruptive on the inside. He could move to the outside, come around the edge if you needed him to, but primarily as a 4 or 5 technique interior defensive lineman, pushing the B gaps. That's his best role, and he really took a step forward last year. The big addition, though, is Jonathan Franklin Myers. You give up a future 6th-round pick to go and get a quality starter who is top 10 in pressures every single season amongst interior defensive linemen for the past 4 years. This dude is a game wrecker as a pass rusher. That is going to be such a huge boost for him, because not only does it help the opposite side of Zach Allen, it puts DJ Jones back at his more natural position as a disruptor on the nose tackle position. That now you have 3 guys along the interior that can really create a push in pass rush situations, and then force some one-on-one scenarios on the outside where you get guys like, and I saw Kenny asking this question earlier, talk about the edge group. I think the improvements on the interior of the defensive line are going to improve the edge defenders, because they're not going to be tasked with double team situations. You're going to get more one-on-one scenarios where those guys can go out, utilize that speed, utilize that athleticism, really try to get after the quarterback that way. You also then you move on from Mike Purcell. You bring in Malcolm Roach, who's a damn fine run defender as a nose tackle. It moves Matt Henningsen down the rotation a little bit. You've bolstered the depth of this unit while also creating so many different creative packages that you could utilize with the edge defenders, with these guys up front that can get after the quarterback. This interior defensive line, they're going to be better against the run, better against the pass. It's easily the best unit on this defense right now.
Kind of like Big E Bronco is coming in and saying outside linebacker is the best position group, kind of in relation to what you were talking about, being able to, get that defensive pressure off up front is going to free up a lot of other groups for him. He thinks he's going to see those outside linebackers eat. But like I said, I wanted to get over to Albert. What are your thoughts, man? Interior defensive line. That's where the best group is according to Lance. What are your thoughts there, Dutchie?
I totally agree with that. Yeah, I'm really happy with what is going on. And don't forget, Uwazurike, it might be coming back this year too. And he is a really great rotational player, just like Henningsen as well. Yeah, last year we had a big problem with the run, and I think we solved that problem. And that makes it easier for everybody, for the inside linebackers, for the safeties, for the cornerbacks. If that is closed up, the gap is closed up, people can focus more on what they really need to do. And what Len said, the edge rushers will have an easier task as well, because they don't have to solve all these problems. And so I think the interior front seven, I think we're going to see a huge improvement this year.
I'll go around the horn. I'm going to start with Trevor, man. Are you in 100% agreement with what we heard from Lance? Is the defensive line, that interior defensive line, is that the best group we got on the defense now?
Yeah, I'm 100% in agreement with what Lance said. I mean, I've echoed it in previous episodes. I think that defensive line is just going to be so much more improved. I think Zach Allen's going to be improved. I think he's a guy to watch that possibly could make a Pro Bowl. I think that's a guy that if anybody on that defensive line is going to do it, anybody on this defense other than PS2, I think it could possibly be Zach Allen. Just how much you improved that defensive line and how much pressure you really took off Zach Allen by getting Franklin Myers and getting Roach. I really do think it's their best group, and I don't think it's in particularly close. And credit to the Broncos for getting a discount on Franklin Myers. I think that's one of their biggest steals of the offseason. And not only what you give up for him, but you also got him to restructure his contract a little bit as well, so where numbers manageable. So, I 100% agree with Lance and echo what he said about the edge rushers, because the edge rushers were a lot of pressure was put on them last year, and in particular how many times they had a blitz just to get to the quarterback.
Very good, man. See if it's a full sweep so far. We're going to continue with the judge himself. Judge, what do you think? Is this the best position group, the interior defensive line?
Yeah, I'll keep it short. It's the most improved. Jonathan Franklin Meyer, Malcolm Roach, possibly getting back Wazarike. But to me, it's the easiest. That's the easiest on the defense. It's the most improved by far.
Well, there you go, man. Lance, I'm not going to argue either, man. It's tough to find another group on this defensive side of the ball that looks as good, and that's crazy to me. That's crazy to me because we were just talking about just last year about how this was probably one of the weakest parts. Now we've seen some fall off with, we talked about Justin Simmons and stuff like that has weakened other groups, but for all of a sudden this to be the strongest group, it's quite amazing, man. I want to get to a couple of things though really quick for you. I wanted to get two things. Big E Bronco comes in and says, we brought this up before, outside linebacker is the best position group. Make an argument for outside linebacker being the best position group for us.
So I think that this group has the most potential out of any position group, probably on the roster, if I'm going to be completely honest here, because you have Baron Browning, who has incredible upside. Jonathan Cooper is probably the most solid player that you have. Nick Bonito with the pass rush upside there, that's huge. Ronnie Perkins has pass rush upside there as well. Then the third round draft pick from the season, Jonah Ellis, is a high quality pass rusher. I believe he was second in the NCAA last season with 12 sacks, only behind Latu, who was the only edge defender drafted in the first round of the 2024 NFL draft class. So getting a player like that brings up so much pass rush upside like that, this group has potential to be very, very good. I just have so many concerns with their ability to contain the edge in the running game, and that's going to be a huge problem for this team this year. Now, I want to go to this question really fast. I want to piggyback off this because Kenny Kirkpatrick asked if he had to pick one group to be a surprise for this year on defense, safety, inside linebacker, etc. I think that this, based on the improvements of the interior defensive line, some growth on the edge group, I think this inside linebacker group is actually going to be relatively good this year based on what VJ wants the defense to do. He wants his guys up front, two gapping, so controlling the offensive line of scrimmage, two gap away, let your linebackers read, diagnose, and fill your run gaps. What does Alex Singleton do the best right now? He's a read, diagnose, see ball, chase ball linebacker, and he does it damn well. Cody Barton, what does he do best? He's a see ball, chase ball linebacker, getting downhill, being a tackler. Those guys are going to eat in terms of creating tackles so long as this defensive line can stay healthy, so long as these edge defenders can try to keep the edges completely contained and just funnel everything to the inside. Like, I think that the inside linebacker group, while I do have severe questions about it, I think that they could surprise a lot of people just based on what VJ wants the defense to do and the additions up front on the interior of the defensive line. So another reason why I'll go with safety as the worst group there. But back to the edges here. Again, it's the strength and development of Nick Bonito, the strength and development of Jonah Ellis, who has an ankle injury right now. You've got Baron Browning, who has injury concerns as well throughout his entire career. You've got Jonathan Cooper, again, who's probably the most consistent and the best player in that edge room right now, as based on what he brings down in and down out. There's potential there for this unit to be really, really, really good. But there's also a big time bust potential, and it could be a disaster for this Broncos defense.
Yeah. Boomer bust, man. Sometimes that's the way it goes, man. I'm going to get over to Phil McLaughlin, who just dropped some more stars, another 100 stars. I'm going to have Jody answer this, or at least give his commentary on this. He says, I think the upgrade on D-line will help Bonito and Browning, and they will enjoy a great season. Do you see Bonito and Browning going off because of that upgrade on the interior defensive line? Is that are those the two guys that are going to eat, or do you see anybody different in the mix there?
I've been saying all along, I think Baron Browning goes from a Robin to a Batman this year. I've predicted 11 plus sacks this year. If he stays healthy, I think he takes over as your dominant number one edge guy, and you don't have to worry about trying to find a Batman. You have him in Baron Browning. But it's all contingent if he stays healthy. If he can stay healthy, I think he has all the tools to be a Von Miller light. Not exactly Von Miller, but he can do certain things like that.
Love it, buddy. Love it, buddy. Thanks for answering, Phil. And Phil, thanks for dropping the 100 stars. What I need to do right now is tell you all about a wonderful sponsor, one that's going to be spending, I guess, the next 10 days at Frontier Days right up there in Cheyenne. That's Morgan Trinkets. Morgan Trinkets is your headquarters for Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, and Estate Gold at wholesale prices, man. I'm telling you what, these guys were once a nationwide company. Now, getting a little bit older. They want to maybe take it easy a little bit. They just concentrate on Northern Colorado, Southern Wyoming, but they have 33 years experience. I'm telling you what, guys, head on over to Morgan Trinkets and check out all their fantastic, fantastic pieces that they have. If you find something, you can purchase it. All items are shipped for free over $50, and you can transact by PayPal. But if you get out there to Cheyenne Days or any of the other fantastic numerous shows that they do, you can transact by credit card, and you'll be able to see all their inventory. By the way, if you message them, I'm sure they'll find something for you. Head on over to Morgan Trinkets. That's Morgan Trinkets for your headquarters of Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, and Estate Gold at wholesale prices. And that sterling silver starts at $10, goes all the way up to $2,000. Check them out today. Morgan Trinkets. We love you guys so much, and enjoy the next 10 days up there in Cheyenne. And I guess the listening to the podcast as you're driving back and forth. We appreciate it, Pearl, so very much. We're going to get back over to Lance as we continue on. I know that Posse's jumping with questions and jumping with comments on the defense. Appreciate you, Big E, Bronco. Wish I could get more comments, but we're going to jump over to the offensive side. The worst offensive group. This is one that is intriguing to me. So worst offensive group, Lance has narrowed it down. He's done his Dove Valley deep dive, and he's come up with what, Lance?
Can I just cop out and call quarterbacks the worst group? Because we are all going to just agree here. I don't want to go down the quarterback rabbit hole because we don't know. There's again, Bo Nix, we just don't know what he's going to be right now. I think he's going to be the day one starter. Quite honestly, I do believe they're going to give him the job. It would be a pseudo competition when we hit training camp. Yes, he's going to be the day one starter. You've got Jarrett Stidham, you've got Zach Wilson, whatever. Let's think outside the box here. And I'm going to throw a wrench in the works here, and I'm going to call out the wide receiver position. Big time. And the reason why I say that is because, yes, you've got Courtland Sutton, and obviously he's upset with his contract right now. He wants more. It's not that he's necessarily mad at the money he's making. He just wants more guaranteed money in the future he wants a long-term future in Denver is really what he wants. He wants more guaranteed money, some financial security. He's got plenty of money right now. That's not a problem. He's going to be the number one guy. We all already know it. That's fine. There's your one guy set in stone. Outside of Courtland Sutton, name me a starter. Is it Tim Patrick that we don't know what he's going to look like coming off of a torn ACL and a torn Achilles in back-to-back seasons? Is it Josh Reynolds, who's been a number 3 guy rotational player for the majority of his career as a Detroit Lion? Is it going to be Marvin Mims, who, second-round draft pick, electric player with the ball in his hands, deep threat, like that kind of a player? Not great route runner, still a lot to learn there. Is it going to be Troy Franklin, rookie 4th-round pick, same skill set, similar skill set of Marvin Mims? We're 5 deep now. 6, Lil Jordan Humphrey. Is that your next guy? Is it going to be Brandon Johnson, who we don't know what he is really?
I really like Jalen Virgil.
I was going to say, is it Jalen Virgil? The reason why I want to shout out this position group right now is because, again, it goes to the same thing with the edge. There is a ton of potential here. You've got high upside guys in Marvin Mims. You've got, and I think he's going to excel in the Brandon Cooks role, running horizontally, not necessarily vertically, stretching the field horizontally is going to be his big thing. You've got Tim Patrick and maybe in the rotation in there with Josh Reynolds. Like that's some quality play there. You just don't know exactly what the upside is there. Troy Franklin, sure. Deep threat right now. is not a great route runner, but you can get multiple with these guys and kind of work with them. The problem is, give me somebody proven that's not Cortland Sutton. I dare you. You can't.
Bam. Better get to the Rocket, man, because that sounds like one that he could take off on, man. What do you think, man? Wide receiver is our worst offensive group. Try to find a starter outside of Cortland Sutton. Name him. I dare you.
I'm not gonna. I understand his point when it comes to Lance's point when it comes to the wide receiver group being the worst on this roster. But honestly, this run, people are not going to want me to say this. Some fans aren't going to like when I say this, but this roster is just so bad that you can make a case for any of them. I mean, the offensive line, Ben Powers, Mike Benchy, quarterback, the running back room. There's concerns all the way around this roster, but I'm going to go the tight end room. I mean, there's nothing there in the tight end room. Essentially, there's a lot of hype on Lucas Kroll right now. That's great, but I mean, again, he wasn't practicing in pads yet, so let's see what he does in pads, at training camp and in preseason before we hype this guy up as a guy that, even comparing him to anybody like a Travis Kelce type, which again, just Kroll hasn't done anything. Dulcich can't stay healthy. What do you really have in the tight end room? Troutman is fine, but he's not going to ever be that pass catching vertical threat tight end that you need and that Bo Nix is going to need. So I 100% get where Lance is coming from with the wide receiver room, and I have my concerns as well. But I think there's more overall talent upside in that wide receiver room than in the tight end room. I have very little confidence in that tight end right now, unless Kroll can or Dulcich can stay healthy. And maybe Kroll does ball out. I don't really see it with this tight end room, and I think it's something that they're going to have to address sooner rather than later. And just can't believe it's been this long that the Broncos haven't had a efficient elite tight end.
For the record here, I agree with Trevor 100%. I was just bringing up the wide receiver room to have an outside the box conversation for a minute. This tight end room is booty cheeks. It's terrible. Yeah. I said it last week on Dove Valley Deep Divers. It's probably the worst tight end room in the NFL. Eric went through a handful of teams. He's like, the only one I could think that would be worse would be the New York Giants. Like this room is bad for the Broncos, and it's not particularly close.
All right. So we got maybe a tie wide receiver tight end really coming in from Lance, but I'm going to get over to Albert, man, get around the horn. We had a little bit just a moment ago, I had Michael's comment coming up in saying it was tight ends. Now I got Kenny Kirkpatrick saying all joking aside tight ends, even though I think Kroll could have a breakout season. Wide receiver, tight ends, those are the two groups that are on the table. Albert, what are your thoughts, man? I want to get to you.
Tight end. A tight end is the worst position here. We drafted Kroll, and we know that the Joker, because that is what Dulcich is going to be, is not a real tight end. He's a receiving tight end. So he would fit more into the receiving core than as a tight end. Yeah, what else do we have? Troutman? Not really. An offensive weapon. He's more a defensive player, in my opinion, to help against blocking. So, yeah, tight end it's for me. No doubt about it.
Very good, man. I appreciate it. Go all the way around the horn. Get the judge involved as well. By the way, Kenny says gotta go Mims as a starter, Lance. He has a huge second round pick and to be a starting wide receiver, not a punt returner. Anyway, maybe get to that a little bit more. But Judge, Jody, wide receiver, tight end. Those are the two position groups. What do you think, buddy?
For me, it's tight end. It's probably the biggest boom bust. If Greg Dulcich can stay healthy, I think you may have a decent tight end room or a decent tight end, but he has yet to prove that. And the fact that he's been hurt all offseason and has done nothing is very concerning to me. Concerning that we didn't address it at all. They knew he was hurt. They've done nothing to address it. Adam Troutman was not good last year, in my opinion. He's not a receiving tight end. Who is your tight end to go over the middle? Who is your Jimmy Graham type wide receiver or tight end? You don't have that. And at the wide receiver position, I'm a lot higher on that position. I've said for a while, Cortland Sutton is the number one in the NFL. He's number one on Denver's team, and that makes you a number one. I don't know what the definition of a number one is, but he had 10 touchdowns. he's put up a 1,000-yard season with trash at quarterback, and that's coming from a Russell Wilson fan. And I've been high on little Jordan Humphries. He's played in the system in New Orleans. He showed plays last year. And Josh Reynolds, it sounds like from all reports, he's cleaned up. He dropped no passes in the OTAs. He ran Brandon Johnson's system, which is over the middle type stuff, which is what Sean Payton is going to want. So I'm higher on this wide receiver core than probably a lot of people. But this tight end room, if Greg Dulcich is not healthy, you have a massive problem, and it's probably the biggest weakness on this whole roster, in my opinion.
Very good, man. Tight end was very heavy. Like Lance even said, I was trying to go a little bit outside the box. Tight end was pretty easy. Wanted to bring out the wide receiver room because he didn't feel it was very strong. Big E Bronco, if anybody has this off the top of their head, said what was the wide receiver they drafted in the 7th round? I think was his. I can't think of his name.
Devon
Bailey.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. He says with his big body, you think he may move him to tight end. I think actually it might have been the Dove Valley Deep Divers who got into this. I was watching the show, and just the amount of weight that is the average tight end versus where Vele sits. Talk about it, Lance. I was watching.
So Devon Bailey, for as big of his body as he is more just height and length than he is actual mass. Devon Bailey going into the NFL Combine in February weighed in, so he measured in at 6'4", 205 pounds. The average weight of tight end players at the NFL level is 256 pounds. He would have to gain pretty much 50 pounds to be able to play tight end at the NFL level. And let's also go into some more, I don't want to call them negatives, but detractions, things that are going to work against him here. One, he was on a Mormon mission for 3 years. He is a 28-year-old rookie that already struggles with route running. He already struggles with the nuances of playing the wide receiver position. And he also has athleticism issues. You want a player to go out with athleticism and movement skill issues, lack of tight end refinement, route running refinement, lack of refinement at the wide receiver position, and make him gain 50 pounds on top of that and learn an entire new position. It doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. To me, this was another big reason why we had this conversation last week, was kind of talking through this wide receiver room, and it's kind of altered my opinion on this whole thing, which is why I brought it up. If you're banking on Vele being a player on this roster right now, he's at the very best wide receiver 8 on this roster. You're probably just using him more as a practice squad guy. Throw him on the practice squad, leave him there if you need a late day call up because someone's going down, or it's just a rotation, the way the new special teams rules work. Like, that's probably the bigger role for him. I doubt he sees any action on offense, and if it is, it's going to be very, very, very limited. But no, case in point here, Biggie, I hate to burst your bubble here. They're not going to move him to tight end because it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I think you guys made a great point over on Dove Valley Deep Divers the other night on that. I even looked it up later. Greg Dulcich is coming in around 230-ish. You're still asking a guy to gain like 30 pounds. That's a lot of weight to add to your frame, and then still be, athletic and competitive and explosive. It's like trying to move up a weight class in boxing. It's really, really tough to do.
I have one thing. I'm glad you didn't bring up, no one said blocking, and I'm glad that didn't get brought up, because Jimmy Graham was not a great blocker. Greg Dulcich is not a great blocker.
No.
We had blocking tight ends here last year, and Manhertz, and I don't know whoever the other tight end was. And what did that do for us? It did nothing. It didn't improve this tight end room. So get an athletic tight end. That's what always worked in New Orleans. And I go to Jimmy Graham. He wasn't brought in to block. He was brought in to catch passes. Shannon Sharp, not the greatest not the greatest of blockers.
Perfect.
He was one of the greatest catching tight ends. So if blocking is what he wants and he's worried that he's fooling people, it goes the exact opposite when you have Chris Manhertz out on the field. You know that you're not throwing the ball to him. So
I agree.
I guess
agree.
One quick question here. Eric and I actually talked about this on the show a couple of weeks ago. One more move you'd like to see the Broncos make, whether it's on offense or defense. We did both sides, by the way, but go check it out. Mile High Huddle's YouTube page. You can see this episode for yourself. One of the things that I said was, speaking of Jimmy Graham, why not go get him for this Broncos team right now? I mean, it's going to be a cheap veteran deal. He's obviously a Sean Payton favorite, worked within that scheme. He knows the offense. Going to be a safety blanket down in the red zone for you, a big body, kind of go up and get it, catch kind of guy. It's going to lose that athleticism over the middle of the field, but at least you have a solid option. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I saw this one from Phil. He was asking before the season, is it possible to pick up a tight end? I was thinking, yeah, absolutely. Guy gets hurt, guy gets cut, stuff like that. Things happen, but why not Jimmy Graham on the right deal, on the right money? Bring him in. Like you said, he knows the offense. I like that quite a bit. I also wanted to get to Kenny. He was thinking, guys, I think I'm crazy for thinking that Kroll could have a breakout season with 700 yards, 5+ TDs in a full season. So I'll throw both of those on the table. Albert, Jimmy Graham, is that a possibility? Lucas Kroll having a breakout season, is that a possibility? Hit those two really quick before we jump over to the offensive positive group.
To say it the best, in the NFL, almost anything is possible. But yeah, I would not mind seeing Jimmy Graham coming in as a tight end, because it would improve, especially on the veteran skills, and have a leader in the tight end group. That would definitely be a huge help. And then it would indeed be possible for Kroll to have a breakout season. Yeah, why not?
I like it, man. Get over to the Rocket Man himself. What are your thoughts, man? Bringing in a Jimmy Graham Dulcich, Kroll having a breakout season.
I mean, anything's possible with Kroll, and anything's possible in general. There'll be. Keep in mind, there's going to be something that we ain't talking about right now that's going to happen during the season that we just said, wow, we didn't expect that. It just always happens in the NFL season. It's so unpredictable. But Jimmy Graham, he's 37. I mean, what are you going to expect out of him? He didn't play much with the Saints this past year. I just don't know that you can rely upon that. I would still try to see what I can get out of Dulcich and Kroll. I think you have a better chance at that happening in being productive than I think with Jimmy Graham. I like Jimmy Graham, of course, I think a couple years ago, 3-4 years ago. But right now, where he's at in his career, I just think that he's just too old, and I just don't think he's going to do much for this offense. And I don't – if you're having to rely upon a 37-year-old tight end, it's probably not good. So Sean Payton's connections and everything, I'd rather bring in Michael Thomas than bring in Jimmy Graham. So no to Jimmy Graham. Kroll, yes, there's always a chance that he could break out. Hopefully he does, because it's tight end room's clearly in shambles right now. They have clear needs there, and they need someone to step up. I don't know if that'll happen, but hopefully it can.
All right, man. One last one, man. What do you think? Jimmy Graham being a part of this offense, Lucas Kroll having a breakout season. What do you think, Judge?
I'm with Trevor. I think Lucas Kroll could. I don't know that I would bank on it, but I think he could. And then I'm Jimmy Graham. He's 37 years old, and like Trevor said, he didn't really do anything in New Orleans last year. I'm more on the. I mean, I think I'll bank more on a healthy Greg Dulcich than 37-year-old Jimmy Graham. I've said for a while now, if it were me, I would consider little Jordan Humphreys, who's a bigger guy, or Brandon Johnson. I would consider moving them there, especially if you don't care if they can block. I know they say Sean Payton cares about that, but he only cares about it except when he doesn't, like Greg Dulcich doesn't block. So, and those are guys that I think are bigger bodies that can go up and get balls.
Fair enough. Judge calling out the Dulcich, the hair. We need to get over the offensive side of the ball. I'd love for you to go back and forth. I'm sure that we can all check you out on Twitter, and we'll get to that, and we can have a little discussion after the podcast. But let's get over to the offensive, positive side. The studs over on the offensive. Where do you go for an offensive stud group, buddy? Where is it at?
You guys are going to laugh at me. It's the offensive line. This offensive line is not nearly as bad as people want to give credit. Like people talk trash about the Broncos offensive line and giving up too much pressure and yada, yada, yada. Well, when your quarterback holds on to the football for the second longest time in the NFL last season, only behind Justin Fields, who just so happens to be that guy's backup quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So let's see how that works out. If you go to ESPN's offensive line metrics, run block win rate, pass block win rate, the Broncos offensive line number 3 last year in run block win rate percentage, and they were number 7 last year in pass block win rate percentage. The only player that was outside so I can't remember the exact statistic. It was the only player outside, I believe, of the top 15 in terms of starters at the position in pass block win rate was Mike McGlinchey. And a lot of those the pass block win rate percentage numbers comes from is one-on-one numbers where you're going up against a guy one-on-one. Well, when you're going up against Max Crosby and guys like that every single week, it's kind of hard to win one-on-one battles. And I'm not trying to, pine for Mike McGlinchey here and, carry the water for him or anything like that. But he's still a damn good player. If you get the football out of your hands, he was fine in San Francisco with a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo. Like they got the football out of his hands, and Mike McGlinchey suddenly was a quality pass protecting right tackle. Regardless, let's just get to the meat and potatoes of this thing. What are the Broncos going to do offensively this year? What is going to be the bread and butter of this offense? And quite honestly, when you have
baby.
Yes, sir, absolutely, they are going to run the goddamn football. Like Richard Sherman says, run the damn ball. You've got Garrett Bowles, a top 6 run blocking left tackle. You've got Ben Powers, top 4 in run blocking at left guard. Center position, obviously you're moving on from Lloyd Cushenberry. That's a huge hole. We still got to figure that out. Quinn Miners just got paid today, the best run blocking right guard in the NFL last season, and Mike McGlinchey top 10 in run blocking last season per Pro Football Focus. Guaranteed. You're going to run the goddamn ball. Take the ball out of the quarterback's hands, get the ball out of his hands when you have to throw the football, and this offensive line is going to look a hell of a lot better than it has. It is without question the best starting unit on this roster right now, and they've done enough, I think, to help bolster the depth. They bring in Matt Pert as a swing tackle. Alex Palczewski is coming back healthy from last season. Like, they've got some players here. It's going to be a quality unit. You just got to figure out that center position. And quite honestly, I really like Alex Forsyth a lot. He's a damn good run blocker. That's what he did best at Oregon. He's quality in pass protection too. Like, he can plug and play as a starter this year because you don't have Lloyd Cushenberry. And the best part about this entire thing, all 4 concurrent starters coming back from incumbent starters from last season, except for Mike McGlinchey, and he missed it by 43 snaps. Every single one of those players played 1,000 snaps last season. They're healthy.
There you go.
And they are mean, and they are nasty up front. And if you're going to run the football, I can't think of a better offensive line to do it but outside of the Philadelphia Eagles. It's just plain and simple. That offensive line is going to be gross this year in a great way.
Got one question from Kenny Kirkpatrick before I get to the rest of the 4 horsemen. Lance, does center position concern you at all?
Yeah, absolutely it does. It does. And like I said, I'm a huge Alex Forsyth fan, and I know that Sean Payton specifically talking after the draft and the post-draft press conference, they viewed Alex Forsyth as a starting player. They had a 3rd-round grade on him. I know that for a fact. He just had injury concerns. So there were shoulder injury concerns specifically that really caused him to fall in the draft. But go back and watch that tape at Oregon, man. This was before Jackson Powers Johnson. And Jackson Powers Johnson, big-time draft crush of mine from this last season. Alex Forsyth was as good as Jackson Powers Johnson and a lot of different things. Now, he wasn't as elite in terms of ground and pound. I'm going to grind your nose into the dirt and just make you look like a fool. But he could hold his own as a run blocker. He could hold his own as a pass protector. He can step in and start. My question is, 1, the first-year starter. 2, the injuries, how does that look? And 3, what's the depth behind that? Because Luke Wattenberg, his best tape was at guard. You've got Sam Mustafa in as the veteran free agent this season on a cheap deal, but go back and look at PFF over the last 3 seasons, the worst starting center in the NFL by all metrics. So, yes, center is an absolute concern, but I think there's some upside here, and I'm very interested in, considering all the options here. I think that Alex Forsyth has the opportunity to be a really good player for this offensive line. And he has rapport with Bo Nix, too, so that helps a lot, too.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, man. I'm gonna see if the rest of the four horsemen agree. Man, I tell you what, man, it's been a fantastic show, Albert. We haven't gotten enough of you. We haven't got enough of Trevor. We haven't got enough of Jody. Haven't got enough of the posse. I got to get your take here on the best offensive group. Does it reside on the offensive line like Lance just gave a fantastic plea for?
Yeah, Lance deserves the extra prime time. So he is a guest with us, so he deserves that time because he has his knowledge. And to me, I think the offensive line is the best group of the entire Bronco team, offense and defense, no doubt about it. And here's what I think: between Ben Powers and Quinn Miners, we have a center that might be a rookie. But guess what? Those two will elevate that rookie to the levels where he needs to be. I think that is what happened last year with Cushenberry too. Everybody thinks that Cushenberry is one of the greatest centers, top 10 centers in the league. I don't think so. It happened because of Ben Powers and of Quinn Miners. Because those two dudes created havoc and made it easier for Cushenberry. And then, McClinchy, he had a tough time with the run of pass blocking because that was a Russell Wilson deal. I think that will be better if Bonix is really much faster than Russell Wilson. I don't think we see much of a problem with McClinchy this year. I think Lance is correct. We might have a top 3 offensive line this year.
Very good, man. I'm going to try to find someone on the other side of things. I'll head to the Rocket Man himself if I can. Man, StreamYard's playing with me. Rocket Man, what are your thoughts? Offensive line group, premier group that we have on this offensive side of the ball?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the offensive line is definitely the best group on the offense side of the ball. Am I as high as it on maybe Lance and Albert? Probably not. I think that we could definitely see better from, I think, McGlinchey and Ben Powers. I know that the run blocking rate and the pass blocking rate was high, but this team did not run the football very good last year, and they have to run the football better this year because, I mean, you're putting Bo Nix in a very difficult situation. So, and then as much as we want to blame Russell Wilson for what happened last year, let's be honest, this team did not help him in any words, running the football and running the football efficiently. 18th in yards, 28th in touchdowns, and 18th in attempts. They certainly maybe could have ran the football a little bit more, but they certainly didn't, just do it, effective enough for Sean Payton to maybe go towards more running the football. So I definitely love, Quinn Miners, and I've said it, this is a guy that should locked up, a lot sooner, even before PSU, because PSU has that 5th-year option. So you have a little bit more flexibility with him, some more time. And then I like Garrett Bowles. I think Garrett Bowles is, a top 12 left tackle in the NFL, my opinion. But I just think that, again, the center position with Forsyth, that's definitely something, that I'm concerned with. I think that he's a guy that they should definitely want to win the job. You have more control on, with him under contract as well than you would with Wattenberg, because Forsyth was taken a year later in the draft, and it is a Sean Payton guy. I think it does say something that he did go to Forsyth about Bo Nix as well. So I think Forsyth does have the inside job, to be the starting center of this team going forward. So I will agree the offensive line is definitely, I think, the strength of this offense, but I don't know how great of a group they are. I think that there's definitely some concerns, and I think Powers and McGlinchey could certainly be better. And I don't think up to this point, in my opinion at least, they haven't lived up to those contracts to this point. But I do like what Bowles and Miners add to this team because of how good of an offensive lineman that they are.
I like it, buddy. I like it. I'm going to have my own take on it, but I got to get over to the judge. Judge, what are your thoughts, man? Best offensive group? Are you aligning with everybody else? Is it this offensive line that's going to carry the load?
Yeah, I've said it for a while. I think this offensive line is very underrated. I think Garrett Bowles is fringe top 10 left tackle. Everyone that touts get rid of him, get a better left tackle. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. This is like I just said, a fringe top 10 tackle. And I think there were some things last year that don't get mentioned. Sean Payton and Russell Wilson didn't click. And there were games, Houston for one, that he just threw the ball and he did not commit. We didn't commit to the run. He didn't want to commit to the run, and that hurt guys like Ben Powers and Mike McGlinchey. He now has his guy in here, and I think he is going to do what he has to do to protect him. And I think you will see a lot more running the football. And as much as I liked Russ, he doesn't help his own line at all. I mean, he holds the ball too long. He plays hero ball too much, and that's not what Sean Payton wanted. So I think new quarterback that gets the ball out of his hands, committing to the run more is only going to help Ben Powers and Mike McGlinchey. I'm glad they locked up Quinn Miners. I think he's a top 3 guard in this league. And I'm not as down at the center position. I think they went to Forsyth and got a lot of knowledge on Bo Nix. And he has a rapport with Bo Nix, and I think that's going to be huge. I do think Cushenberry is a loss. Was he the greatest? No, but he was the guy calling the plays and calling out line protections and stuff, and that is going to be something to watch in the beginning. But I am a lot higher on this O-line than a lot of people. I think it's fringe top 10 O-line in the NFL.
You know, I'm not going to disagree. The only concern that I have with this offensive line, we saw fantastic consistency of the 5 starters coming out there, starting every single game. The only concern I have is the depth that sits behind this offensive line. You know, if we're just rating the group that's going out there and starting, I have no problem with it. But the depth, if we get a couple of guys nicked up during the season at the same time, this offensive line could look completely different than what we're all expecting with these starting 5. I got to get to some comments, those guys. One, I had Phil coming in, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll have Lance answer this one. It's a star question, so give it your best there, buddy. He says, speaking of offensive line, do we finally sign Bowles or finally draft a tackle? What's it going to be, Lance? Are we finally going to get Garrett Bowles all locked up? Or are we going to finally draft a tackle after so many years?
Well, if you know me even a little bit, one of my favorite sayings is the correct answer to any multiple choice question is yes. Because either way, you're either stuck into a good option on either side, or you're stuck into a bad option on either side. Like if you're giving me a multiple choice question, yes, I'll just take all of the good or all of the bad. I do think they need to extend Garrett Bowles. I really do, because yes, I understand he's 32 years old. Tackle play kind of drops off a little bit. He's been in the league for 7 years. Like, yeah, for sure, there's some concerns there. But he's been relatively healthy for the majority of his career, other than a couple of years ago where he had that broken fibula and missed like 3/4 of the season. The guy is out there every single snap. He's a leader on this offense. He's a leader in the locker room. He's a solidifying force. And you guys have talked about it. I think he's solidified himself as a top 10 left tackle in the NFL. I firmly believe that. He's incredible. You need to extend him to keep him around for at least a couple more years, because when you do finally draft a tackle, how much can you rely on that guy to step in right away and provide the level of play that Garrett Bowles gives you right now? I mean, you're talking what are you talking about? Like Olu Fashanu this last season, Tristan Wirfs a couple of years ago. Sure, you need a top 5 pick essentially to get that guy. Like you got to luck into being in. If you're going to be that bad this year, sure, you can go and take the best offensive tackle. I think there's a kid out of Michigan this year that looks really, really good. There's a kid out of Penn State as well that looks pretty good.
Sure,
but go and get that guy. Is he going to be better than Garrett Bowles is right now? Probably not. So allow Garrett Bowles to be here for a couple more years. Let him retire a Bronco. It helps the salary cap situation as well. Like you can work away around certain different things, especially with him. As good of a dude as he is, as good of a character as he is, as good of a player as he is, keep him around for the long term, at least for a couple more years, because that allows your young rookie tackle to then become that kind of player that you would project as a potential top 5 pick or whatever you're going to draft in the in the NFL draft. If you have a good winning season this year, say you win 7, 8, 9 games. At that point, you're talking picking anywhere from 10 to 18. Is that tackle you're going to take at 10 to 18 going to be a player that you can step? No, probably not. So it's one of those. The correct answer here is yes. They should do both things because they haven't drafted a tackle since Garrett Bowles, but they need to keep Garrett Bowles around at least for a couple more years.
I like it, man. And not only that, but man, he's a guy that showed up to mini camp, showed up to OTAs out there, doing stuff in the community, helping out kids and the whole 9 yards. Garrett Bowles, yeah, I agree. I think we should lock him up. Guys,
I have one other thing. Lance brought up Tristan Wirfs, and he's a perfect example. If Denver would have drafted him and moved on from Bulls, he'd be playing left tackle. And I don't think he was when Tampa finally moved him to left tackle this year. I don't think he was that great at left tackle. He was much better at the right side. So you think you're improving moving off of Garrett Bowles with somebody like that, and you really probably aren't. So till you see horrible years from Garrett Bowles, the Garrett holds and all that, that's well in the past. Till his play starts to go down, I don't see how you move off of that to draft somebody that may or may not be better.
I'm glad that you finally saw the light here, Jody, because I remember we went back and forth for a long time with you and me and Eric on Dove Valley Deep Divers about Garrett Bowles, man.
Hey, we all come around. We see the light sometimes. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of time. And, I think we all have our own little keen eye on different aspects that, we all find our own diamonds, I guess is the way I'm getting to. But speaking of diamonds, Michael Ronquillo dropping stars all night, dropped 500 stars. Not a question, not a comment as we're getting out of here tonight. But I wanted to get all the way back to like early in the conversation to a question that he had before we get out of here. Just really quick, I want to get everyone's thoughts on this in the panel. And Michael Ronquillo came in and said, which position, offense or defense, do the Broncos need to draft in the first round of the 2025 NFL draft? I'm going to start off with the Rocket Man. If you had to choose right now, where are you going? Offense, defense, anything's out there, first round of the NFL draft, where are you setting your sights there?
Man, that's something that's very hard to predict right now.
Yes, I know. I mean, it's a good one to end up.
Yeah, it's a great question, Michael, and thank you again for the stars. Showing support for us, as well. And for me, I'm gonna have to go edge rusher. I think if there's an edge rusher there, especially if you're picking high, I think that you would that would probably be a direction that you need in a place in a position where you need to finally address that. I think the Broncos drafting a tackle. I mean, if Sean Payton and George Payton are still in charge, I don't see that happening probably. I think they go more the free agency route just because, again, what Lance and Jody said, that the transition from the college game to the pro game for tackles, I mean, it's a real thing. We do want to talk about with quarterbacks. Let's talk about with left tackles. So I think that would be the only reason they're not extending Garrett Bowles up to this point. Maybe there's an upgrade out there. Again, I don't, I like Garrett Bowles. I wish they would re-sign him as well and figure out something with him. But if I had to go anywhere, I think it would be edge rusher. You really need to start getting to the quarterback a lot more, better. And yes, this defensive line will help that, but up to what extent? I got up to this point right now, there is not a number one edge rusher on this team, and you haven't had that probably since Von Miller. We can argue about Bradley Chubb all day, but Bradley Chubb's had his own struggles as well, and he just wasn't as dominant, in my opinion, than Von Miller. So edge rusher would have to be it for me, but there's so many different directions you could go. I don't think tight end. You don't think you're taking tight end in the first round, high. For me, edge rusher, you got to, get that edge rusher, that elite number one Batman edge rusher to go along with Surtain and really start making this defense dominant.
Very good. Head over to the Albert Mile High Dutchie. What are your thoughts, man? Where would you go first round? Not knowing where you're picking, but certainly maybe having an idea of where you'd like to add some talent, buddy.
I will go for the Joker Award, long snapper. We have never drafted a long snapper in the first round.
I love it. Albert, bring in some comedy. Keep it light. I'm going to go over to the judge next. Judge, where are we going in the first round of the draft? I try to beat Albert. I doubt you can.
Wow.
If Bo Nix pans out like we think he will, for me, it's you got to get him another playmaker on offense, whether that's tight end or wide receiver. That's where this is at for me. I think the defense is underrated and solid. Yes, there are some holes, but you got to get him more playmakers, and tight end and another wide receiver are at the top of my list.
All right, man. Got to get to our guest, man. Well, actually, you know what? I'll go next, man, because I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to kind of agree with Jody, man. If I had to pick right out of the hat, man, I'm going to try to pick the top wide receiver I can, man. I'm a little bit worried about what we have there. We kind of talked about it as far as, our best offensive groups, our worst offensive groups. Wide receiver is a little bit scary. You get past Cortland Sutton. Lance brought it up. What else do you have? I'd love to add a true number one wide receiver, but I'm going to get over to Lance now, man. Lance, where are you going, man, on this, man? It's a wide open, not knowing even what this season is all about. Where are you going for the first pick of next season?
I've got so many different directions I can go with this. I mean, we could damn sure use a kicker, and this is no offense to Will Lutz here. A kicker would be good. A punter for sure is definitely on the docket here.
Going down the Albert Road,
right? Exactly. No, quite honestly, I'm going to do my best. Kevin Costner draft day impression. Michael Williams, no matter what. Michael Williams, no matter what. He is the edge defender out of Georgia, 6'4", 265 pounds. Probably he's going to have 35-inch arms, bend, explosiveness, twitch, pass rush ability, quality run defender. Probably the number one overall pick this year, quite honestly, unless it's a quarterback, which if it's the Patriots picking number one, it's not going to be a quarterback. Michael Williams is that freaking dude. They got another dude, James Pierce out of Tennessee, is another high quality edge defender. He's more twitchy than twitchy side to side than explosive, like first step speed. And not really the biggest player, but another high quality edge defender. Better against the run than anybody else the Broncos have. And then if you're really looking for a wide receiver, Luther Burden III from Missouri. This dude is a legitimate wide receiver one at the NFL level. If you're looking to add anything to this offense, I think I don't remember who said it. I think it was Trevor that said, or maybe it was Jody that said, a legitimate pass catching threat for this Broncos offense is going to be a big time need, especially for Bo Nix. You got to have to go out and find a guy that can win in mismatch situations. He can win over the middle of the field. He can win deep, body contest, but contested catch, body control. That guy's just a monster, man. I'm not really dove into the 2025 NFL draft class, but if you're looking for me, the positions that I'm looking for specifically, especially given the state of the NFL right now, it's quarterback, it's getting after the quarterback, and it's explosive playmaking. Forget protecting the quarterback because that'll come later. Explosive playmaking potential on the offensive side of the football. Luther Burden III brings it.
This is what you're missing if you're not checking out Mile High Huddle, if you're not checking out Dove Valley Deep Divers, if you're not checking out Lance Sanderson, man. I tell you what, Lance, appreciate you so much, man. We got to get up and we got to wrap this all up. We got to get out of here. But I'm telling you what, that's just a small snippet of the immense amount of knowledge that these guys bring to the table. We appreciate you, Lance, coming on the show, being a part of the action, answering our silly questions from time to time, and our posse as well. Answering all their questions, all their star questions. We appreciate you, man. I'm going to start off with you as we start to say goodnight to everybody, and then I'll let the four horsemen get it in as well. Thank you so much, Lance.
Thank you, guys. I always say this every time I go on anybody's show, whether it's you guys, whether it's the Dove Valley Deep Divers, Broncos for Breakfast, which I've never been able to actually do that, but building the Broncos, Mile High Huddle Roundup, does not matter. Any show that I go on, it's always great to be able to join with you guys because it gives a different perspective, gets you out of the same talking points. It brings, it just opens up the conversation. It helps edify our fan base. Denver Broncos fan base has been a great, just boonful of knowledge, and we do such a great job keeping the conversation moving forward. And to have these collaborative media environments, it makes everybody smarter, it makes everybody better. And it just opens up, again, way better conversations, and I appreciate you guys for having me on. Please, guys, if you guys are part of the posse here with the Denver Broncos Roundup, come check us out on Dove Valley Deep Divers. We go live on Friday evenings on the Mile High Huddle YouTube page. You can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Twitter, Twitch. Doesn't matter. Find wherever we're at. We're on every single Friday night. Check out all of my work, milehighhuddle.com. Going to be doing some film breakdowns if I get the opportunity to here soon. I just dropped one on Troy Franklin a couple weeks ago. That one went really well. I'm working on an Audric Estime one, but my subscription for the screen grabs that I use, it ran out. I just got that renewed, so I've got to get the cut ups taken care of. But yeah, just it means so much for me to be able to be here, for you guys to come and listen to me, to have a conversation with me, and just to allow me to talk some football. Like, I could go another hour and 20 minutes if we wanted to. Like, I'm here for this. So thank you all again. I love, and Kenny, best guest, love your knowledge, Lance. Thank you so much. I appreciate every single one of you guys, and hopefully I can continue to do this. I'm getting ready to make a career shift, not away from Mile High Huddle, just a personal career shift, which might take away from some things, but I'm eternally grateful for everybody that's followed me and allowed me to be a part of their lives, at least once a week for the last, 6 years.
Isn't that amazing, man? 6 years. Congratulations, buddy.
Yeah.
A guy that'll be watching for that Otter Estime cut up, I'm sure. The Judge, I'll go to him next, man, as we get on out of here. Judge, say goodnight to everybody.
Great show again, Lance. Thanks for being on. Training camp starts next week. I'm excited for that. It's football season. It's finally here. And I'm excited to see what Bo Nix can do. I think this season is about what Bo Nix can do. If Bo Nix pans out, Denver will be back. Maybe not next year, but 2025, look for Denver to be a contender again. Do whatever you got to do to get Bo Nix in the right situations. And look for this offense to be a lot different than it was with Russ. That's why I don't hold a lot of the O-line and stuff, because Russ caused a lot of problems. Sean Payton caused a lot of problems with Russ that hurt a lot of different things. I think everyone's on sync now, and I expect this O to be a lot better than what a lot of people think.
I love it. I love it. Judge is ready for the season. I think a lot of Broncos country is ready for the season. I know that the Rocket Man's ready for the season, but he's also ready to get out of here. Say goodnight.
Oh, I could talk Broncos for hours. I'm right there with Lance, honestly. And you guys know that. So, again, I just want to thank Lance for being on. Lance, you're great. You're welcome anytime, and just really appreciate you. And again, please tune in to Lance's show and Eric Strickle's show over there. Deep Divers, they do a great job. I always watch it, and they're just so knowledgeable and just great guys. So make sure to go check them out. But just want to thank everybody in the Posse tonight for being here with us, and stars, again, everything. You guys it really means a lot to us, and really can't appreciate you guys enough. And again, we're getting Bronco news finally. Kind of seems like it's been forever. Quinn Meinerz, coming back, and that's such great news. Hopefully maybe there'll be some other news as well. Maybe we can get PS2 extension for our first preseason game. I don't know. No, all joking aside, just again, thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight, and great show. And again, we'll see you guys on Friday, and go Broncos.
I love it, buddy. I love it, buddy. Man, I don't know how long this is going to take, Albert. You usually have a list, buddy, but we got a lot of love tonight, and I loved you being on the show and being on here with Lance and the whole four horsemen, man. But we got to get out of here. Let's say goodnight, brother.
Yeah, thanks, Lance, for being here. It is always a pleasure to have you on the show. I really, really enjoy talking with you. And I also really enjoy the posse always in the chats being so active. And I will thank you all. Patrick, Scott, Ernie, Michelle, Pearl, Dan, Graham, Kenny, Phil, Michael, and for me, Big E Bronco was a new one. And Clayton, of course. Thank you for being so active in the posse, because our lives is so much easier with you on the show and commenting. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Man, I tell you what, man, we are lucky. We are proud to be able to come on here every Tuesday, every Friday, 7 to 7:30. Just watch, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. If you're subscribing to all our channels, Rocky Mountain Sports Network, Denver Bronco Roundup, you'll know exactly when we're coming on. You'll get all those ad notifications somewhere between 7 and 7:30. Even Lance was like, really, 7:30, Keith? That's what we're doing it? Yeah, Lance, that's when we're doing it. Sorry, got a little bit of a later start than normal. But, man, we appreciate every single one of you. We appreciate our fantastic sponsor, Morgan Trinkets. We're brought to you by Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Please give those guys a like, share, subscribe over there as well. We are the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. Like I said, every Tuesday, every Friday, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I'm telling you what, appreciate all the love, appreciate all the stars, appreciate all the comments, and can't wait to get back here again on Friday. Man, appreciate Lance Sanderson. Again, Mile High Huddle, Dove Valley Deep Divers. Man, you guys got to check him out. Lance is fantastic. We love having him on here every single time. And Lance, thank you, man. Thank you. What a fantastic show. Can't wait to have you on here again. But we do got to get out here. We ran super, super long. So that being said, guys, we're going to go out like we always do. Remember, keep your feet in the stirrups. Remember, keep your guns in your holsters and keep the Broncos in your heart. We're going to get out of here. Good night. Have a good one, everyone.
Thank you.